Hi everyone, my name is Tiffany. Welcome back, or welcome if you've never been here before. This season for the Romance Readathon has officially begun. So I am here to share all of the books that are on my radar, the buddy reads that I plan on participating in that are already active in the Discord. If you missed the sign up or the links for everything, I will have everything down below, as well as my co-hosts and the mastermind of this extravaganza, Maggie from Maggie's Books and Stuff. I am also going to give you some recommendations as I go through my TBR, because there were books that came to mind as I was building it. So let's start with the buddy reads that I definitely plan on participating in, starting with The Wicked and the Willing by Leon Yuthun. This has been on my TBR since I learned of the choose your own ending option. This is a dark sapphic paranormal horror. It is set in a 1920s Singapore following a mistress that's vampiric and in need of blood. Or as the synopsis put it, in need of the sweet and salty rush from a woman's veins. Young to be exact. So I'm intrigued. I also expect to enjoy it because I loved The House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. That also features a main character that is struggling to survive the slums, and her ticket out of there is to become a blood maiden to a mistress. There is a sapphic romance within that as well, and she learns of what she's truly signed up for in that. So another paranormal horror that I have to mention is A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This has some of the most stunning prose that I've ever read. I'm not at all surprised that she is a poet. This is following the bride of Dracula, giving us a counter lore as well as her last love letter and reasons for why she had to kill him. I absolutely adored this book. Next, I will definitely be participating in the buddy read for Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. I picked this up at Writer's Block. I love that bookstore. And all I know is that this is set in a whimsical Regency London. There's fairy magic. That's all I needed to know. I cannot wait. I've heard great things. I just don't know much. So I'm very intrigued. And this will probably be one of the first that I start. I do have the audiobook as well. I am also very excited to reread an all-time favorite, which is The Lord of Scoundrels by Lorraine Heath. The prologues within this series are gut-wrenching. This has strong themes of found family following a group of childhood friends who grew up in the slums, who later grow up to navigate society, being that one of them receives a title. I absolutely adored this series. I hope that you join us. And if you do, I would highly recommend to continue on with the spin-off series, The Scandalous Gentleman of St. James, which features the children. The heroine, Lady Grace, in this book is the daughter of a very iconic hero from the Parent series, and she has been afforded a very large dowry, which has sent out all of the fortune hunters. Yet Lady Grace wants to marry for love. So she seeks out the tutelage of Duke Lovingdon, who's known for his debauchery. This is also a love after loss romance, being that he is a widow, vowed to never marry again. And because of his grief and that great loss, she knows he's the perfect teacher. This is a teach me, but in a very different way, where he's reluctant to help, and in doing so, he falls very hard. Fierce heroine. I absolutely loved the longing and the mental games, the banter in this book. It's absolutely top tier in my opinion. Lastly, I believe that's all I've planned for in terms of buddy reads. I'm finally going to be finishing the Monstrous Ball series, written by many monster romance authors. I've read the first two within the series, and I just love the premise, okay? Human heroes and heroines that have been ruined and shunned by their ton and forced to seek matches by the monstrous gentry, who of course take them in with open arms. They have been delicious, they've been spicy, they've been heady, and I cannot wait. So let's move into my TBR. I'm going to be referring to my phone here. I have a few physical, some recs that I've been meaning to get to, and ones that I'm excited about all of these, but it's time to actually get them in. I'm so excited that this is going to be a month-long readathon because there have been books and series that I kind of just want to knock out. So starting with, yes, I'm finally going to be getting into Evangeline Collins, Her Ladyship's Companion. This one intrigues me because it's following one of the very few historicals that features a hero that's a working man of the night. Okay, class difference in that way. And this lady, of course, is in a loveless marriage, and she hires him on for companionship. Isn't expecting to cross the boundaries and fall, but of course she does. I cannot wait. Another like man of the night within a historical is The Runner and the Runaway by Mary Farmer. This is part of the Perdition Club series. Okay, they are novellas. This is an MM historical. I absolutely loved this. It's following a Bow Street runner who's tasked with shutting down the gentleman club that Theo works at. Yet he has a bit of an obsession with him, maybe a bit of stalking, but I absolutely loved Theo as a hero in this book. He is a sex worker, unapologetic about it, and he enjoys what he does. This is their romance. I loved the mystery plot, how their love is handled in this time period as well. So good. If you have a chance to pick it up, I highly suggest you do so. But moving on with Evangeline Collins, I also want to read 7 Nights to Forever. This is about a lady who loses her husband, is left with nothing, yet she's still caretaking for her younger brother. So she becomes a courtesan of sorts, where 1 week out of each month she spends in this body house, and that is where she meets her cinnamon roll hero. So I can't wait to see what that's all about and finally tick Evangeline Collins off of my TBR. These have been on here probably the longest of everything that I'm going to share. Next, I cannot wait to get into Reforged by Seth Haddon. And this is an MM medieval fantasy bodyguard romance. I cannot wait to get into it. I also think it's royal because one of our heroes is a young king being protected from being usurped. I cannot wait to see how he weaves in the fantastical elements as well as the political intrigue and their romance. This cover completely drew me in, so I hope that Seth can keep my attention. Next, I cannot wait to get into An Island Princess Starts a Scandal. This is the second in Adriana Herrera's Las Leonas series. I absolutely adored the first. This is going to be a sapphic romance between Manuela, who is an artist who is traveling to an 1889 Paris to showcase her art at an exposition. And she's also going to use this trip as her last summer of freedom before she is shackled by marriage. And it is there that she meets a duchess who is known for being very ruthless in business, and I guess her plot of revenge is what thrusts them together. I cannot wait. I got this copy signed at Book Bonanza. I love the art print. I need to know more. It is finally time. This is probably going to be another early read for me. Okay, probably one of the first, because I hear that there are extra points given for historicals as well as LGBTQ reads, so I'm excited. I'm also going to be following the white and pink papers. Another sapphic romance that I want to read is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. This is going to be a captor-captive fantasy where our main character is being imprisoned by her brother, and it is her sapphic romance with the maid that has been tasked with cleaning out her cell. Apparently, this maid is also a priestess, and she helps her escape. It's their romance, and it's their sort of aligned plot of revenge against her brother. I cannot wait. I've heard nothing but good things. This is also in my library, so I plan on reading it physically and picking that up. After which, I hope to get to a few of the books that have been on my TBR that have been recommended by friends, okay? And I've got to start with Robin from Paperbacks and Planners. She's just been throwing me gems. I've recently become thoroughly obsessed with Tal Bauer because of her, and I would love to read We Could Be So Good by Cat Sebastian. This is an MM historical romance set in the 1950s. And it's also friends to lovers. I love how she talked about that in one of her recent read videos, where one of our heroes is the son of this big newspaper tycoon that wants him to take over the business, yet he has no clue or desire to. And our other hero sort of takes him through the ropes. I cannot wait. The synopsis also mentions how dangerous a time it is for their love, so I'm intrigued to see how that is dealt with. Another book that's been on my TBR for a while is The Kiss of a Highlander by Karen Monning. I got this recommendation from Carrie for Book for Romance. I was looking for time traveler romances, and this is set in the modern day with our heroine who is traveling to Scotland to start over, maybe fall in love. She ends up falling in a Highland ravine and ends up meeting a Highlander that's been cursed and stuck down there for 5 centuries. I don't know, but I can't wait to find out, okay? This is definitely one that I'm going to be getting into. The audiobook is also on Anyplay. Another recommendation from a friend is When the Rogue Meets His Match by Elizabeth Hoyt. I got this from Christy Reads a Lot. When she came out here for Love in Las Vegas, we went book shopping. And this apparently, I believe, a bodyguard romance. He used to work for her uncle. He was his right-hand lethal man. And now that he's retired, he's being called back in to protect her, the woman that he was pining for while he was under his service. And in exchange, he could win her hand in marriage. So I cannot wait to see what this is about. I think there's like PTSD representation in this as well. Cannot wait. I trust Christy, so I'm excited to get into this. I also have got to read Lady Ruthless by Scarlett Scott. I started this book on the way to Book Bonanza and got distracted, so I need to jump back into it. It is following a Lady Whistledown of sorts, where she's actually writing from the perspective and in the voice of an earl who she believes is responsible for the death of her brother. He kidnaps her, forces her to marry him, being that her papers have been so scandalous that she's ruined all of his marriage prospects. I was obsessed with the captive element of this book, so I have to get back to it. I do know that it's on KU for Read and Listen. Avery from Ava's Romance Books and Rachel's from Rachel's Reads and Sings said that it's better than Nobody's Duke, which I absolutely loved by Scarlett Scott. She's on KU, and this was a second chance angsty romance between a widow and a bodyguard. Reluctantly so. They were childhood lovers and something went wrong. And they're angry in the beginning of this book. I mean, I was drawn in immediately when it came to the dynamics and why they didn't want to be forced into proximity with each other. I had to know what was going to happen. I absolutely adored it. It did give me, again, the magic vibes, which is an all-time favorite of mine. I pulled a lot of books off my shelf, so I do have a few just like sitting here. I won't be talking about all of them in this video, but again, The Magic is an all-time favorite romance of mine. Second chance, class different, childhood lovers. The angst in this book is simply top tier. McKenna comes back into her life fully grown from the Americas with a lot of hurt and anger about why they couldn't be together, and her reasons for why just broke me. Anyway, so this is an all-time favorite. Nobody's Duke, okay, is very reminiscent of, again, The Magic, and because of all of the praise, I've got to finish Lady Ruthless. I'm very excited about it. All of her books, I believe, are on KU and can be found through Hoopla in terms of audiobooks. So I'm very excited to finally start like etching my way through her backlist during this month-long readathon. I just love it. I also think this is well suited for mood reading. You do not have to read romance, so everything's going to be counting. I will be counting everything and garnering points for our team. So I hope you can join us. Lastly, I'm going to wrap up with a rec from Jessin from Jessin Reads Romance and Crystal from Crystal's Bookish Life, a co-host and co-team leader for the Seductress team, just in case you haven't squatted up yet. I just thought I'd mention. Moving on. Lastly, another widow that I have to meet is from Julie Long's Lady Derry Takes a Lover. This is the first within the series. I've read within it. And this is following a widow who was left with nothing. It was a loveless marriage, and at her solicitor, she learns of his mistress who was left with nothing as well. They team up and open a boarding house in what was once a body house, I believe. So I cannot wait to not only read this like female friendship that could have been contentious, but also about the start of this inn that I have read about. I cannot wait to get into it. So that is what I'm going to be wrapping up with here. Of course, I have other books on my radar. I plan on doing vlogs throughout this readathon. I'll definitely be hosting some reading spreads and join my co-hosts on theirs as well. If you have not signed up for the readathon, everything will be linked down below. This is day one. I will be posting this August 1st. We have the entire month. I'm so excited. I hope that you join us. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.